Today we're talking about conspiracy, revolution, and Bitcoin. You see, the legacy financial system is churning the world over, and we see that the dollar store is feeding more people than Whole Foods when we look at the year-over-year grocery sales data, and that is just where people are going to feed themselves because Whole Foods is too expensive, and the dollar store, the Dollar Tree is what people have as their only option to receive food. And at the same time, we have these Paris riots happening across France, across Europe. There's a lot of concern. We see EU tanks rolling into Paris to confront these demonstrators, and Max Kaiser encouraging people to buy Bitcoin. And at that same time, Twitter's adding all these new excuses, adding these different reasons to ban people from the platform. And, these different reasons, including these different conspiracies based on what they say is real news, what they say is not real news. And as we all know, all media headlines can't all be true. So as the technological adoption cycle continues for Bitcoin, financial technology, and this revolutionary technology that we're all starting to discover and to get into, is the early adopter phase going to end abruptly? Are we going to see the early majority be accelerated into Bitcoin, into cryptocurrency, into open source, open blockchain, decentralized technology? Is that going to happen via some sort of market recession or some sort of Black Swan event? There's a lot happening. There's a lot to review. Let's discuss. Hey everybody, I'm Gary Palmer Jr., you're you, and together we are Minting Coins, your trusted source for crypto news, interviews, and what is happening in this space. I really thank you for spending some of your time with me today. It's been a little bit since we made our last video. We have been very, very busy just exploring, connecting with different people, building in the blockchain space. We're really excited to read the news and to share the news with everybody. Unfortunately, that's not what we have been focused on full time. And while we haven't been focused on it full time, this is still an important part of what we want to do, what we will continue to do, which is bringing you truth from our perspective, bringing you information as we are curating it, and to give you our take and a little bit of direction to seed you with some knowledge so that you could take that, you can move forward, and you can continue doing your own research, really figuring out what's happening in the space, what makes sense to you, and what's real for you, depending on your circumstances and where you are in the world. If you do appreciate any of this information, we do appreciate any help, tips, donations that you have. It's very difficult in the independent media space, and we want to continue being independent. There's definitely interest in what it is that we're doing in front of the camera, what it is that we're doing behind the scenes, and we would like to just remain independent for as long as possible, if not forever. And while we're all waiting on this rocket ship to really get to the next level with the institutional capital coming in and for all of us to be lifted up, in the meantime, we're just trying to make ends meet. We're not crypto rich yet, and any little bit that you could help, we would love to just take that and give it back to the community, so we can continue providing you the information that we do give you in the way that we like to give it. So with that being said, I just want to, have a lot to talk about. We've been, just really busy with everyday life, really busy, making money with the primary sources of income. At the same time, we're just taking every extra second that we have outside of those worlds and placing it into the blockchain space. I think a lot of people have this goal of, really letting go of the edge of the swimming pool and diving into the deep end, and just going head first, just reaching, for the middle of the pool, so you can join, where everyone else is and where everyone else is doing, without having to hold on to the edge, without having to hold on to whatever it is that's holding you back, that's preventing you from facing your fear, and really, having fun doing what it is that you love. And obviously, with that analogy, at the same time, you don't want to, drown. And so we really need a lot of support. We really need a lot of training. We really need a lot of foundation around us, on these endeavors. It takes a lot of mental strength, a lot of physical strength. And I think this is a great analogy from where we are right now in the blockchain space. So when we look at the markets, we know the markets have been, rough, to say the least. And when a lot of people were looking into cryptocurrency in the past year, the past 2 years, maybe some people even within the past 3 years, they got into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. A lot of them let go of the edge of the pool. They went to the deep end of the pool, got to the middle. They were having a lot of fun, but then they sank to the bottom. They sank to the bottom hard, like a rock. And not only are they at the bottom, but there's no lifeguard coming out to save them. There's no bailout for Bitcoin. There's no bailout for the holders. There's no one to change the policy in one way or another. And so we have different currencies like Ethereum that are down 90%, Bitcoin down 80, 85%. We have many coins that are down, if not 90%, 95, 98, 99%, with, BitConnect being down 100%. So I don't think that a lot of these coins, or almost any of them in the top tier, are going to be going away. There's just too many fools in the world who will let go of something unless it's outright, blatantly a scam. But these markets aren't going to go anywhere in terms of zero. They're not going to go to $1 million overnight. They're not going to go down to $0 overnight. Granted, they could. We do not see that ever happening. We think that Bitcoin could drop under $3,000. We see how it could drop under $2,000. We see how Bitcoin could drop under $1,000, because when the powers that be come into play, they are looking to create as much capitulation as possible. And I'm sure you've been hearing a lot about that all across the space. And there's a lot of people that are feeling a lot of different pain. Us personally, it doesn't matter how low Bitcoin goes. It doesn't matter if Bitcoin went down to $100. We would just continue buying Bitcoin because our belief in the technology, our belief in the decentralized open blockchain information, the technology, the distributed ledger that allows anybody to participate in a permissionless, censorship-resistant, open source way, immutable way that allows people to either send and receive value, to hold value, and to create messages, transactions, exchange of relationships, and digital relationships and communication, trust online with this technology. It's why we are not big supporters of Ripple. We know Ripple can make people a lot of money. We know Ripple, could be implemented by institutional organizations and could live a huge life, and could increase in value and could become worth something forever to come. But because of the centralized nature of Ripple across different vector points, even if you say Ripple is a cryptocurrency, I think I puked a little bit in my mouth, that Ripple still has such a huge amount of it that's controlled by just a couple players, just 2 or 3 people, that gives that uneven power distribution, uneven vector of attack that allows those people to manipulate the price in ways that would practically be artificial to the market. It just doesn't create enough liquidity to have a distributed marketplace with fair players in the space. And so with Bitcoin, we've had this release. Even with Ethereum and the numbers of holders in Ethereum, Bitcoin just looks way better when you compare it to Ethereum. But even Ethereum is not as bad as a lot of these ICOs that have come out with their, that had come out, but after Ethereum, which just did what Ethereum did to just a whole nother level. And it's going to continue on all into 2019 and 2020 when we start seeing these security token offerings, these STOs. We're moving from a world in 2017 from ICOs, and we're going into 2019 with these STOs. And these are going to be completely regulated. They're going to allow the early investors to buy these tokens at a hugely discounted price, and then other investors to come buy at a hugely discounted price, but not as discounted as the people who came in before them. And then they're going to have an ICO that's going to allow anybody to buy into the BS version of the utility token, or or even if it is a security token and an accredited or non-accredited investor would be able to get involved. The price that the non-accredited investor is going to pay for these STO tokens is just going to be substantially higher than the accredited investors who are doing the initial investment of millions of dollars, purchasing tokens at a penny a piece or less, and then selling these tokens later at $1 or $5 a piece. And this is going to be, what we continue to see. And all of this that we're talking about is, this isn't just a tangent. This is part of what we're talking about, because all of these delusions, and all of these, additional players that are coming onto the stage that are trying to do what Bitcoin did one way or another, they're not going to have the same advantage that Bitcoin has in terms of the network effect, in terms of its reach, in terms of its brand recognition, in terms of its infrastructure, and what the industry has provided it in terms of the number of people who have Bitcoin, who are mining Bitcoin, who are using Bitcoin and incorporating Bitcoin into the different infrastructures. And this is including Lightning Network. We're not going to be able to stop this. And it's just so distributed and so open source that if every government coordinated in the world to shut Bitcoin down, they would still have a very, very difficult time to do that. It's just the time to take over Bitcoin has since passed. And either, this is all part of the plan for, Bitcoin to, be number one, or they just missed the opportunity and they're going to seek to, commandeer this rocket ship any way that they can. So I would be very reluctant to be scared out of my cryptocurrency. I'd be very reluctant to let go of what it is that I built or that anyone has built up over their life. This is the way that people can store value. This is like a new bank account, as Barack Obama has said. It's like a Swiss bank account in your wallet. When you put money in the bank, that could be confiscated. When you put money in the bank, that can be inflated away. When you put money in the bank, that can go through a period of negative inflation depending on where you live and when you're living in the world. But with Bitcoin, we know what the inflation rate is going to be. We know what the ways to confiscate someone's Bitcoin are. We understand this technology is different than anything that the world has seen before this. And these are very, very, very exciting times for us to be a part of this. And I'm very thankful that you're taking part in this with us. This is where we are now. This is the legacy financial system, and this is us churning away. We are all part of the system. If all the people just decided to exit the system, then this system wouldn't work. We need every single person here. All these mass people are all important. Every single one of you is important, not individually, but as a collective. We're all important to make this work. Some of us are writing the software for this, and some of us are creating the gears for this, and all the rest of us are just different parts of this machine. And this is what's happening. There's no decentralization. There's no consensus. There's no other people who are part of this. And so all of these people who are getting churned in the legacy financial system are starting to feel it. They are starting to realize it. And what's different now versus what's different, or what wasn't different in 2008 is that in 2008, we really didn't have Bitcoin. In 2008, 2010, we had the TARP bailout, and then here we are. Things have been a little shaky for the past couple of years. Even though the stock market has been doing great, people have not been feeling it. And we see this disparity in this chart right here for the Institute for Local Self-Reliance, we see that the total dollar sales and grocery sales at the dollar store and Dollar Tree combined is much, much higher. Historically, it's been higher, but we can see that the delta here, the gap between the dollar stores and Whole Foods is much greater because there's so many more people that are having a difficult time affording food. This isn't just any one place in the world. This is everywhere in the world. So we have Max Kaiser out there who's saying if every French person converted 20% of their bank deposits into Bitcoin, the banks and government would collapse and a lot of bloodshed could be avoided. And so he's encouraging everyone to buy Bitcoin in response to protest, as a tactic of protest. And why is he talking to the people of France? Why is he talking to Paris? Because if you go to Twitter and you look at the hashtag Paris riots or Yellow Jackets, you will see all sorts of pictures and images from what's happening in Europe, what's happening in France, what's happening across much of the world, or possibly coming to a part of the world near you, are just people's frustrations with the cost of living, people's frustrations with taxes, people's frustrations that social services that are there to prevent the people are being cut, while social services for the rich are being increased, at least according to what all these folks are saying. And it's really, really interesting. This is just, I think, going to be a very iconic photo where you have this, young woman, that's hiding behind a glass or just feeling comfortable behind a glass with this, Burger King logo in the background. You have people who are really protesting on the outside. And so if this person that's protesting on the outside is protesting and making their voice heard, and if they're also making their voice heard by purchasing Bitcoin and having, a percentage of their finance in Bitcoin, and this person has 0% in Bitcoin, 10 years down the line, after we get through the next one or two financial destabilizations, where is this person going to be in terms of his philosophy on life and his, financial outlook versus where is this person going to be as, she may be living in a place with negative interest rates. She may be living in a place with hyperinflating currency. She may be living in a place that has more restrictive rules on what she can do and how she can proceed, because that is the situation that we're living in. And we are just seeing this coming to a boiling point. We're not seeing this across the mainstream media. We are seeing this across Twitter and across personal accounts, across people who are having their voices heard, celebrities and common folk alike, who are just giving us this information to help us understand what is happening in the world right now. And so with that, we have all these things that are happening in the world, and all these, we in politics and Trump, they're talking about collusion. And the reason they're talking about collusion is because, they don't want to talk about the conspiracy. And what is conspiracy? It's just, when any, more than one person gets together and they conspire, to make something happen. And it's a conspiracy until it's confirmed. And so that's why a lot of what's happening in politics right now, talking about collusion and conspiracy, is a conspiracy until it's defined or proven as collusion. And no one wants to use this word conspiracy because it's so vague. No one, the word conspiracy doesn't mean necessarily what it means. It doesn't mean fake news. It doesn't mean something that is crazy. It just means something that may have happened between people when people are working together to conspire in secret. So it's a secret plan by a group to do something unlawful or harmful. And so, what is a conspiracy? Twitter is saying that whatever they define as a conspiracy is a reason that your account is now going to get banned online. And so if you're someone who believes, anything conspiratorial, like Holocaust denial, the QAnon, the JFK conspiracy, Pizzagate, the 9/11 truth conspiracy, anti-vaccine myths, and the religion of Scientology. So, there's several things on this list that I personally don't subscribe to, which I suppose would mean that maybe there's a couple things on this list that I do subscribe to. And so what Twitter is saying, that if I want to talk about those things, or if I want to, continue to promote alternative historical viewpoints, then I could be facing a ban on my account. Not only can I not have these conspiratorial content viewpoints posted on Twitter, but I can't even, post a hashtag that is in reference to any of these conspiracies, because then I have to risk my account being banned and my voice being shut off. And is that just the world we live in? Because this is a private corporation. It's just really interesting that this is where we are, and it's very interesting to think that this could be misused and in a lot of ways in very arbitrary circumstances. And so what's Max Kaiser trying to say? What are people around the world trying to say about this Bitcoin? Are we trying to tell people that they're going to be able to trade their Bitcoin for millions of dollars someday? No. As the meme goes on to suggest, what we're trying to tell you is that when you're ready, when the world is ready, when we are ready, when we have more and more people across the world who have Bitcoin wallets, more people across the world that are running Lightning nodes, then you won't have to convert your Bitcoin into dollars. You will not be able to, even want to sell your Bitcoin for millions of dollars, because you will just use your Bitcoin to purchase coffee. You will use your Bitcoin to pay your taxes. You will use your Bitcoin as your receiving of your paycheck and your sending of all your bills. You will use Bitcoin and Lightning Network and these different cryptocurrency systems that exist out there. And if you're not allowed to, because that's illegal, then we're going to be living in this, deeper matrix sort of world where, people just don't have all the information. There's just this blinder on. And if you're watching this video, then to some degree, you must be past that to even be asking yourself, what is Bitcoin? Why is this new? Why is this interesting? And how can you do your own research, and how can you participate in this industry so you can be one more decentralized unit in this communications network, not just another cog in the machine. And so this is going to be a long-term game. We typically look at the SCurve adoption, and these S-curves of adoption are really many little S-curves that are stacked onto each other that really create this larger S-curve of these waves of adoption. And so these waves of adoption happen alongside, on top of the technological adoption life cycle. And so right now we're still in the innovator stage, just moving to the early adopter phase. And then we have this chasm, this break between the early adopters and the early majority, where something happens to really create this shift in society, this shift in, human consciousness, where we just start accepting and adopting, this new fad or this new meme or this new technology or these new learnings. And we are going to get there, but we are just not there yet. And so when we look at, the total number of Bitcoin users, we visit this chart every so often, and this is the top 100 richest Bitcoin addresses out there. We see that the number of addresses that have more than $1 in today's dollars, there are about 14.6 million of these addresses. Even if we add up all of these addresses that have more than $1, and we say, this is 15, 20, 21 million, and then we take 21 million and divide it by 350 million people in America, this is 6%. And I can tell you, not everybody in this list is an American, because there's people all over the world that have Bitcoin. And I can also tell you that a lot of these addresses are all shared by the same person. There could be 100 of these addresses that are shared by the same person, right? There could be 3 addresses that are shared by the same person. And so there's definitely not 21 million unique people in only America that would put us at 6%. And so if we take the 21 million Bitcoin addresses that have over $1 in there and we divide it by 7.5 billion people, then this puts us down at 0.2%, let's say 0.3%. That's not a lot of people, 0.3% across the entire world. So 0.3%. So that would still put us, according to the technological adoption lifestyle, this would still put us way early in the innovator stage. Now, a lot of people out there might be saying, Gary, I think Coinbase alone has 25 or 50 million Bitcoin addresses, Bitcoin wallets out there for 25 million different people who are all different KYC'd. Yeah, that might be the case, but if you have all your Bitcoin in a Coinbase wallet, or if you have all your Bitcoin in GBTC, then it's like, as far as I'm concerned, you don't own Bitcoin at all. If you don't own Bitcoin in a decentralized, wallet, either cold wallet, cold storage, or a Trezor, or a Ledger, or a Keep Key, if you don't own it, even in a Jax wallet for that matter, even though it's not the most secure of sources, or on a computer or whatnot, if you don't own your Bitcoin in a real Bitcoin wallet that only you control, that only you have access to the private keys, and only you have access to the seed key, then you're not really a Bitcoin user. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm sorry to say this, and if this applies to you, then I really hope that you understand what we're saying and so you can make this shift. But if you hold Bitcoin on Coinbase, you are not a part of this 2.5%. You are not an innovator. And if you want to be an innovator, all you need to do is go spend $100, go to Trezor, click on the link in the show notes below, purchase your Trezor, transfer, know how to use it, know how to back it up, know how to secure it, understand the best practices for securely storing and securely being responsible for your own wealth, instead of relying on banks and third-party institutions which don't have your best interests in mind. So get that education, purchase that Trezor, get that education, back it up, set it up, back it up, and transfer at least a dollar's worth of Bitcoin, so you can understand that, so you can see that, so you can understand how that works, right? Kind of like sending your first PayPal payment, or maybe further back, sending your first email, to see that magic of that happen when maybe you spent the 10 years or 20 years previous of your life watching the mail go through the mailbox. It's really weird to see the email go through the computer box. Maybe after writing checks or doing it a certain way with Visa in your computer, it's really weird to send an email and to see PayPal send that money over. And now, with Bitcoin, it's really weird to see it happen with Bitcoin. In the future, we're going to have transporters, and it's going to be really weird to see that happen with transporters. But these shifts happen. If the technology is there, people are skeptical as first. Some people take this risk early on. The risk takers, either win with those risks. With great risk comes great reward, or they took a risk and hopefully they didn't spend more money than they were than they were able to lose. And so these are tried and true rules for playing this game, for adopting technology, for exploring this technology. It's not just to do with Bitcoin and blockchain, but as it so happens, all of this applies very, very well. So I guess the bottom line point of this is that we are still in the innovator stage. We are even not at the early adopter phase. By the time we get past the early adopter phase, let me rephrase that. We will not get past this early adopter phase until the institutional money comes in. And it's not going to happen because they're not going to let it happen. At least in our opinion, they want to be part of the early adopters. They want to be part of the innovators. They are filing patents. They are creating companies. They are purchasing assets personally for their friends, for their family, for their institutions, for their, asset funds. And then after them, then they'll worry about getting everyone their 401k and their parents and their grandparents and Starbucks accepting it and all that good jazz as well. So, but before we wrap this up, just a couple of quick headlines. We have Facebook seeking blockchain talent for 5 new company roles. Facebook is seeking to hire these blockchain-related jobs in its career pages in the past couple of weeks here. Currently open for a couple software engineer roles, data scientist post, data engineer, full-time at a company's headquarters in Menlo Park, California, because what's happening is that they're exploring these different areas of interest across all facets of blockchain. What Facebook says is their ultimate goal is to help billions of people with access to things that they don't have now. And that could be things like equitable financial services, new ways to save, or new ways to share information. exactly what Bitcoin does, exactly what they're going to be helping people after they get their, position as the innovators and the early adopters, with their testing and understanding how to create these systems. It's just going to get released to everybody. And we're going to see the number of, people getting involved increasing as the corporations who have access to these individuals, start encouraging them, because these corporations are going to make money with the onboarding and offboarding for potentially every single transaction that happens. Could you imagine Facebook gets a little cut, even if it was like, a tenth of a penny or a hundredth of a penny across billions of people and billions of messages? What if Facebook was able to create this system that everybody used, and for some reason they decided to use it instead of a decentralized platform? And then Facebook was able just to make, this transaction percent. I mean, that would be crazy. This other article headline, we have the Indian government panel suggesting that crypto dealing should be illegal. So in one case, the first headline, we have Facebook hiring for cryptocurrency blockchain positions. Then the second headline, we have the Indian government panel suggesting that cryptocurrency should be, straight up illegal. And in this third headline, we have KFC in Venezuela accepts Dash cryptocurrency, joining Subway and Papa John's. And so the reason I wanted to bring up these things, the reasons I want to bring up these headlines and show you this, is that what's happening with these different headlines is that not all of these can be true, right? We can't have Facebook hiring blockchain people, the Indian government suggesting that crypto dealings should be illegal, and Venezuela, KFC and Subway, and all these different companies accepting Dash and cryptocurrency in these different countries. We're talking about this global technology. We're talking about this borderless, permissionless, open source, immutable blockchain technology. And so it's either going to be completely accepted or it's going to be completely denied. And when we see this information, it's interesting when we take it as far as a pulse in the wind to see how some countries are hotter or some countries are colder into, accepting this technology and really encouraging growth and innovation, or are they pushing that growth and pushing that innovation out? The United States has been pushing it out for a long time, but we're starting to see how the United States is recognizing that they're pushing a lot of this development into Europe, into Eastern Europe, into Russia and China. And they may be recognizing that they don't want the next Silicon Valley to be based not in America. Just like they don't want, Chinese phone manufacturers to be selling, to Americans. I'm sure, America would rather be exporting the blockchain technology instead of other people having that influence. So either everyone's going to accept this or everyone is going to deny this. And with how much money that is going to be made by the corporations, we don't see this going away. What we do question is, how is this transition going to happen? Is this transition going to happen in a way that is controlled? Is it going to happen slowly, or are we going to have a slow recession with the stock market, and then just like this ease into the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, where just some countries have a slightly more difficult time than other countries? Or is there just going to be a more abrupt transition? Is there going to be some sort of unforeseen situation that happens and really pushes this pushes this along, that really pushes people into the early majority, that starts, forcing people into recognizing this cryptocurrency? And, nobody knows. We definitely think there's a lot to worry about with the economy, but at the same time, these explosions are typically controlled explosions. And even when something goes wrong in a machine, it's typically a planned outage, if you know what I mean. And so, again, while we see these prices could really come down a lot more, we're just going to continue buying the dip when we have the funds to buy the dip. And then just taking it one day at a time, understanding what our principles are, understanding what our personal rules are, continuing to gain information, continuing to share information, and behind the scenes to continue building what it is that we're building, making the connections that we're making, and just being very, very excited about where this is going. Let it be, true or not, some of the conspiracies and some of the happenings and this whole revolution in technology, this new way of sending messages and value with Bitcoin and open blockchain technology. And we're also extremely excited about Ethereum and what's happening with different projects on the Ethereum blockchain. Let it be the Decentraland project with Mana, or even CryptoKitties. We love it. It might not be Bitcoin, it might not be the global money system of the world, but we definitely see how with the network effect and with the community and with the technology, it has a chance to survive long term, and there's also a risk that it's not going to. But there's a lot of people who are fighting for this. There's a lot of smart people who are developing behind this, and I just wouldn't count any of these projects except for BitConnect as being dead. Even things like Trump coin can come back from the dead in this blockchain world, and we just got to recognize that financial technology does not operate the same way that any of the finance or technology before it operates. And so people are just realizing the evolution and the alien nature of how this is infiltrating the world, how it's changing the way that we think. And there's so much that's going to happen. It's going to, I think, surprise all of us. So with that being said, let me know what you think. Please share your thoughts in the comments box below. I would love, just to get more ideas from everybody and just to share more thoughts. Feel free to join us in our Discord. Feel free to support us on Patreon. Feel free to like and subscribe. Hit that bell icon notification. And until next time, I'm glad that together we are minting coins.